Go ahead, intro yourself.
So I am Zach. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Ranger Command Power Hour podcast. Also a huge Kamen Rider enthusiast. Super happy to be here to talk about all things Rider with you guys.
Yay! And next.
Oh. Hi everybody, it's Reggie aka 2KROs. You guys know me from Tokunation. I'm excited to be here. I mean, yeah. These series are some of my favorites, so let's talk about them.
Awesome. Then Liz, wherever you are.
I don't know. I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle, right?
Yeah.
So I get
you're in the middle from.
Okay, so I get the fun reactions. I'm Liz. That rambling is probably all about you really need to know about me, but I really, really love Kamen Rider, and I am really excited to talk about Kiva and the other ones too.
Yes.
But watch
Kiva. All right, Dustin.
Hey, I'm Dustin. I go by The Next Decade. You guys probably see me earlier today and every other stream this week. So hi, okay, bye.
And of course, Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris. You guys know me as Toku Chris from Tokunation, rocking the quarantine haircut style, and purposely trying to line my head up with the kitchen ceiling fan. So yeah, I will be in and out probably a couple times just because I'm technically babysitting. Only today. Tomorrow, trust me, tomorrow's a whole different ballgame.
It's all good. Kids come first. So let's get to the housekeeping real quick. So you guys know, all week we've been doing live streams. Today obviously is Kiva, Decade, Double, and O's. Tomorrow, which is the day of culture, Thursday, Wizard, Gaim, and Drive. And of course, after that, we'll be doing a stream about Kamen Rider collectibles as well. So that should be pretty fun. And don't forget, we do have our sale going on. These bundles are running out pretty quickly, guys. So, don't hesitate.
I was looking at that X-Aid one. I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I got lots of the day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is out of... sorry, guys. We do have some cool things on here, though. We have the new Den-O Shinkocho Seiho is available. We have the Luminous Kamen Rider with Kuga and 01, and we have some Soto Kuga sets as well. These are P Bandai, so show them some love, guys. Like, they actually let us do this, so that's pretty cool. And then we have these very much wanted acrylics. We have one from Kiva, which I'm sure Liz, you are probably interested in. So, but all kinds of stuff on here, guys. And then don't forget shirts. Shirts are available in your size, in your color, and as we said earlier today, they're actually shipping earlier than we thought.
Mine come tomorrow.
Yep, I showed mine.
Say mine's tomorrow. So.
Mine shipped.
Woo!
Yes.
So hopefully, everyone will take advantage of this. Now, and the reaction has been so strong on this. We may have another announcement about other apparel options later this week. So, thank you guys for all the support on all of that. So, let's get to it. Let's start off by talking about, and Liz, go ahead and take the floor. Just talk about Kamen Rider Kiva. Go.
All right. Kamen Rider Kiva means a lot to me. It was the first Rider that I had sat down. It wasn't as it was airing, and I got to watch it, and I realized that I loved Kamen Rider. That's a big reason for me, but I loved people are like, well, what show should you watch? A lot of people ask, and for you guys out in the audience right now, you're like, hey, where do you start with Kamen Rider? You start with a theme you really like, and I really liked the suit. I liked the aesthetic of it. I liked the Fangire kind of thing, and I went with it, and yeah, I fell in love with it and Rider. But the big thing for me, Wataru, who played Kamen Rider Kiva, the main writer, the way he starts, so afraid of the world, the way he wears masks and gloves, and I really sympathize with them. On the inside, I actually struggle with a lot of anxiety and social anxiety. This is my outlet. And so I found myself like him a lot, and his growth is not only a writer, but a person, and putting himself out there, like in a band with Kingo, and there's just so much about it, but his story and his growth matched with just the really fun things with Kiva. His belt, he takes baths with his spell. It's so great, guys. There are also a lot of baths. If you like watching people have existential crises in bathtubs, totally watch Kiva. So with that, I yield the floor, but you really gotta give Kiva some love. Plus the suits, he's up there upside down, but the suit's beautiful.
It is.
Thanks, Reggie.
It is pretty good. That series also gave us Ixa. I love Ixa. Please return that life to God. Like that's a great opener. That's a very fancy way of saying I'm about to end your life.
That's like David's favorite line at this point.
Yes. Definitely one of them. Oh, nice.
Ixa's cool. I like him. I'm putting it down. I had enough time earlier.
But yeah, no. Kiva was definitely. It's funny. Like it took me 2 tries to get into Kiva. Like the first time I was like, because I was coming from like second half of Heisei, I hadn't watched any of the pre-double shows yet. Mm-hmm. And then when I came back and I really sat down and watched it, I really liked it. I actually ended up liking the 1980s story a whole lot, and I like the parallel between it. So let's go, AJ.
Oh,
you go first, yes. And we'll work our way down.
What are we talking? We can talk about what we liked about it.
Yeah. What you talking about Kiva? Yeah.
Well, like you said, you did like the 1980s. I love that they were able to handle that better than I thought they would. I was thinking, man, they got to keep going back and forth. This is going to be some kind of crazy, like someone's going to get lost here and there. But as you keep watching, you're realizing, oh, it's not that difficult, and it's kind of nice. Like I do favor the 1980 story more than the current one, but it all leads to it, and I think that's a really wonderful thing. Like you're ending at 2 different ends, coming to the middle. So, yeah.
Cool. And Zach?
So, like Liz said, just the theming of Kiva is so cool. You've got the monster designs. You've got the Fangire who are really cool with their stained glass. It's very gothic, and it's kind of, this fun... there's references that you just like, oh man, that is so cool, like classic monsters. The suit again, yeah, suit's beautiful. His bike is so cool.
Oh, his bike, yeah.
Big, meaty chopper, and he's just like, yes, this is what I want. This is so cool. And yeah, just everything about the theming of Kiva is fantastic. And yeah, the 80s portions are really great. I mean, come on, who doesn't love Otoya? Come on, that's...
Mm-hmm.
He's a charmer ham,
right?
Like you gotta love that kind of character. So
yeah, it's pretty funny. I actually saw Bill before I saw this. So I was like, Grease, is that you?
Oh, we'll get to Grease. Don't worry.
All right.
Yeah, for me, it definitely had to go with the like but everybody talk about the designs, the monster themes. Like I love the arms monster designs, like Garuru, Basha, and Delga. Like especially Delga, just because of the personal preference for purple. But honestly, what really got me for the series, outside of the storyline stuff, was the music. The music was awesome. Mm-hmm. That was like a period of time where they were having like the actors actually sing their themes rather than going out. So like you had Destiny's Play, Individual System, Don't Lose Yourself, Fight for Justice. I love the music mix. In regards to the storyline though, I like what AJ said, where it just convened back together into like one plot at the end. Like that was just, yeah. I mean, like you got the history from the 86, and you got like the modern tale. I mean, that they handled that incredibly well with the 86 timeline. I mean, like, because like you saw little moments that affected in the modern day, like that, like won't go into spoilers on that, but you saw like what happened in 86 that affected a certain character in modern day, and like when those 2 moments then meet together, and that is just brilliant.
All right. I know, Liz. You opened it up, so we'll go to Dustin next.
Okay. Yeah, like Reggie would say, the music is one of the things that over the years has really stuck with me. Kiva's music has like it's one of the best soundtracks and one of the best original soundtracks too. Like all the inserts are great, but all the music they did for the original soundtrack. Like I love all the strings and all the different like orchestral stuff they did. It was super, super well done. And it's just another one of those fun stories. Another Toshiki Inoue having fun writing. I really appreciate Kiva for what we got out of it at the time too. Like also those suits, like I have to come back to those again because the suit actor Seiji Takaiwa, apparently the Kiva suit was one of the heaviest. And
Really?
yeah, you can definitely see that with some of the real chains they used on it. So shout out to them. Like that's not an easy thing to do. So many flips and high kicks with a 50-pound costume on you.
You're super buff now.
But Kiva just it oozes so much character, and it oozes so much character out of so many great characters. There's so many different players, and in a way, it almost feels like a little bit like a chess game by the end. And I wonder if that plays into anything later on.
Chess.
Okay, Kiva's cool. I think you also check it out. If you like supernatural writers, it's supernatural superheroes. Kiva's a good one.
Nice. Okay. And Chris, bring it on home.
So I'm one of those guys that hasn't seen enough of Kiva to really feel justified in being able to speak too much of it. But I will tell you, as someone who is more of an outsider working their way into Kiva, the thing that draws me to it is definitely the designs and the aesthetics, like others have said, in this series, makes it feel so much different. If you didn't tell me, and I'm assuming it would be this way for other Kamen Rider fans or first-time Kamen Rider fans, if you didn't tell me it was a Kamen Rider, I wouldn't know it's a Kamen Rider just looking at the suit. For Kiva, his main suit. Like, it's just so, in my opinion, so different. But once you make that connection, then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, now it makes sense. But no, I mean, it's definitely an interesting series, and I can see why maybe at one point maybe it was a little divisive back in the day in the fandom, so to speak. But I think being able to sit down and enjoy it now in 2020 versus when it came out is a huge advantage for that series, and that's why you're seeing all this merchandise come out for it now.
Nice.
Like Deno is a hard act to follow, but that's another thing I think is great about Kiva is that a lot of the stuff that was good for Deno immediately carried over into Kiva, and I think there's a lot of that shines through if you look close enough.
And that was kind of my initial attraction to it as well, because I had just come off of seeing Deno, and I thought, okay, well, the arms monsters are clearly just like the Imagine again, but different, and it's not the case at all actually when you watch Kiva.
Nice. Now, so here's a question we've been asking all week: would Kiva be a show any of you recommend as someone's very first Kamen Rider? And we'll start with Zach and work our way down.
I would say yes if they are fans of the themes present in Kiva. Like if you know they like horror stuff or like dark gothic stuff, you could easily recommend Kiva as a first rider.
Okay.
I'd recommend it to I think I recommend it as a first rider to my mom. She's never watched it, but she likes the Supernatural, like all the CW shows. Like she's watched all of them. And if I were to get somebody who's into that, who isn't sure about Rider, I think that could be a good place to start. But if you're like, nah, I don't really like that, I just want to see what it's all about, I probably wouldn't recommend Kiva as your first rider. Maybe your second or third once you've already got your feet in the water, but yeah.
Also, I want to take a moment to acknowledge we have a couple of baby riders on the stream. Hello, baby riders.
Future riders. And I do apologize. It's the joy of babysitting today. Only today. I found out yesterday that I was babysitting today. Doctor's appointments. So
it's all good.
They want to see what Dad was doing. So
hello,
guys.
Mama's not home.
Awesome. Reggie, what are your thoughts? Should this be someone's first rider show?
I'm in agreement with if they're into the supernatural. I mean, it could definitely get confusing when it comes to the timeline split. Like they could, unless if they're not paying close attention to it. But I'm on the fence of it if it was somebody's like second or third, for sure.
Awesome. Chris or Dustin?
Go ahead, Dustin.
Okay, yeah. I think it definitely could be somebody's starter, especially if they are really into music. Like if you have a friend that's super into music, I would highly recommend them checking this one out from the get-go, just because it kind of feels like a music video sometimes when you're watching it. It's a lot of fun. But I would also agree with everybody else's points. If you haven't seen any other writer and this is your first one, it might be a little bit different than what you're expecting when you move on to something else. So I would say maybe make it number 2 or 3. It's not bad though. I really do like it.
Yeah, I would say for me, I don't necessarily think it's a good starter pack, so to speak, to start your journey into Kamen Rider. I think, yeah, but for some people it would be like, I think we all know somebody in our personal lives that would be the show that you recommend to somebody. But for the casual fan, or for someone who's just getting into it and that we want to turn into like a long time fan, I think it's a show that you watch. Maybe, like Dustin said, maybe 3rd, even 4th. I think there's some other writers that are good starting points, whether they're Heisei, Neo Heisei, or even Showa, that might just be a little bit better.
Okay. Now, before we move on to the man whose fault everything is, does anyone have any thoughts on Kiva before we go to the next writer? Anything that's burning in your heart that you need to get out to the world?
I just think it's beautiful. The Fangire with the stained glass aesthetic, with the violins, the roses, and there's just something about it that always sticks with me. You hear the theme, you see the throne, you see the violin, you see the roses. It really will stick with you. Love it or hate it, you will have an image of it, and it's a pretty beautiful image.
And if you try to learn to play the violin, that's pretty cool.
I was entertaining the idea at the time. I was like, I could learn how to play violin, and then I realized not with these stubby things.
I
think every writer series does that.
I was actually trying to convince someone I knew in high school to learn the songs. They were like, "Where's this from?" I'm like, "Oh,
don't worry about it.
Don't worry, just please learn it."
Awesome.
Now, we do have one question though from our YouTube. Someone had asked, "Is Ixa the only writer without a writer kick?" And
I
was thinking,
I don't know.
Out of all of writer,
I guess so. Yeah,
in his base form, I think.
Because it was generalized. Just is Ixa the only writer without a writer kick?
About that Kengo guy and all the kicks that he liked to do. But,
that's a.
There's enough writer I haven't seen that I.
That's a lot of writer.
I don't know.
Good question on that one.
Solid.
Maybe we'll have to pay attention to that now.
Yeah, Dave. Now I gotta go through and rewatch everything right now.
From the top, boys. Let's reroll it.
Kiva rewatch 3. Let's go.
Okay. Well, while we're thinking about it, let's move on to our next writer, Kamen Rider Decade. Yes, definitely. So, out of today, this is the only one that I've only seen one episode of. So I'm going to pass this off to AJ to start. AJ, go for it. What do you think about Kamen Rider Decade?
It's his fault. Like, it was an interesting take when it first appeared because it's not that long of a series. So watching it originally, it was like, okay, cool. And then it ended, and I was kind of like left with that was kind of short. Am I wrong? But going back and seeing it again, I enjoyed it.
Nice.
Decade for me was interesting because I had only seen some of the previous series. So the whole idea of Decade doing this alternate worlds thing didn't bother me as much as it bothered some hardcore fans, because I know there was a lot of turmoil in the fandom. That they were like, "Oh, these alternate writers, this alternate world, I don't know. They're covering, for this, that." And I said, "It's fun. It's a fun show." I like of Kuga through Hibiki, but I'm appreciating this show for what it is, and I really like the characters and the story. So Decade is great because it does give you a little bit of everything in terms of the writer suits and their designs and things like that. And I think it's always cool when heroes can turn into other heroes. So when he's just like, "Oh, okay, that guy moves really fast. Okay, I'm gonna become Faiz, and I'm gonna, or I'm gonna become Kabuto and clock up." And And the fact that he uses other writers' abilities to match his opponents is really cool. That's something I enjoy in fiction. So,
Right. Okay. Reggie?
So, for my thoughts on it, yeah, I could see where it could be confusing for certain people, especially if you haven't seen some of the previous series. But I did like the ones that did have like the alternate takes, like, I mean, I want to say this because it's like an early episode, but I won't say it. That's like when you have Kiva's world versus the AR world. Like you see the little like parallels between what is the real reality versus this alternate reality. The same thing. Well, like the little nods for like characters that were in previous series that like they couldn't do a certain thing, but in this series you see them do something like. I won't say the world of that one either. That's a lot of spoilers.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil too many people because, as you guys know, the point of this week of all these live streams is for all the new Kamen Rider fans who are interested. You know, we want to send you off on your journey in a correct way, and we don't want to just tell you, by the way, at the end of the show, this is what happens. Like, we don't
right.
So
I'm ruined.
We want to send you on the journey through the decade.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Okay, all right, well played. All right, Liz?
One of the things that really stuck with me, at first, it's magenta. It's not pink.
Yeah,
It's not pink. It is magenta. The hair was not on purpose. He uses other writers as weapons. He can, like,
This is gonna tickle a little
take Blade, and I don't think this is a big enough spoiler here, but like, he turns Blade into a blade, and he hits someone with a finisher with Kamen Rider Blade. He's like, and all of a sudden he's a blade. He's like, I'm gonna hit him with a, and that was just, it was strange. I'm like Zach, I hadn't seen a lot of writers before I got into it, so the whole thing, like, I knew as I was watching it, it was quote unquote wrong because it was like an alternate version. So I just really did appreciate getting a look at all of the suits. And yeah, like AJ, you watch it and I'm like, okay, you know, it's only got like 4 or 5 episodes left. It's really you got to get that last final arc. And then it ends. And I'm like, what happened to the rest of the show? Is there an episode like 33 or whatever? And you do have to wait a little bit. The actual ending of Decade you'll get in like movies later. So if you do want to give Decade a watch, I would recommend it if you just want to get a feel for all of the different aesthetics of writers and the suits in the world. But man, he uses someone as a weapon and hits him with it, and it's amazing. There we go. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Dustin?
Okay, so I'm gonna gush here because Decade was actually my first writer, and if it wasn't for Decade, I don't know if I would actually be into Kamen Rider. I was really into printing and graphics when I was in high school, and right around the same time I discovered Kamen Rider. And if you guys haven't noticed already, Decade's whole motif is CMYK, which is the 4 colors we use for printing: cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So seeing how they tied all that together, and I was studying so much on that, I was like, oh, that's really cool. Oh wait, this is Masked Rider? Because I used to be a huge Masked Rider fan, so it all just pieced together in my head. It's like, this is my new thing. I'm watching this now. And later, I'm like, oh, I'm hooked. I got to see more. And then I learned that it hadn't finished yet. So I was actually watching it alongside as it was airing. And man, oh man, do I love this show. Tsukasa is one of the most interesting writer characters. I love the idea of parallel universes. And I know a lot of people get upset about the alternate universe writers. But as somebody who didn't know anything about the other writers, it got me more interested to go check out those other writers. Because to me, as a beginner, I didn't know if any of that stuff was spoilers because I hadn't seen any of the other stuff. But then I went back and watched those shows. I was like, oh, this is really cool. And oh, hey, I kind of remember this from Decade. But then you go back and watch Decade after watching those other 9 writer shows, and you're just like, whoa, no wonder why people were complaining. I mean, I still love it, but like, okay, I understand more now. But that's just a bigger appreciation for the show for me. And I really think Decade is one of those shows that I think really hit for people outside of Japan. Like it it was just the right place at the right time for me and a lot of other people. And in retrospect, after seeing all the movies that Decades cameoed in, I don't think the show's really ended. Like, it's still going, and that's what I think is so much fun about it. And it's an old thing that one of my old teachers in high school used to say: it's not about the end result; it's all about the journey. And oh my god, this one's fun! Let's go! Let's do it again! Let's go! Let's go! So I love Decade to death, and I could go for hours about it, but I gotta let Chris talk. Go for it, man.
Hey, cool. Sorry, I disappeared. I'm back for good now. I think to take a different angle on Decade and maybe discuss, in my opinion, why I think it's so popular, because it is. I think I know more people in the Kamen Rider fan community and those who don't follow it or who aren't an active part of it but know what a Kamen Rider is. Decade is like the one rider they all love. I have a specific friend who hasn't watched any Kamen Rider, Masked Rider, anything like that other than Decade, and he loved it. He's got a figure art of it. He's happy. That's all he wanted, right? And I think it's part of that motif. And for not to get too off topic, but Kamen Rider's sister show, right, had an anniversary season one time where it brought up a lot of past series. And that is a lot of people's first venture into that property. This is very similar for Kamen Rider and for Masked Rider, prior, so to speak. But at the same time, it was also in the first time it was actually in its sister show as well. That was airing at the time, which would have been some sort of samurai thing, if I remember correctly. But and I think all of that combined together is what really blew Decade up. And I really think what caused Kamen Rider to just, in my opinion, skyrocket after that, even more than what was already at the time.
Yes. Okay. Now, Dustin, I think you kind of already answered this next question, but for everybody else,
I do have one more thing I want to tag onto that, since we're going into the question about, do you think this is good for beginners? I absolutely think this is great for beginners, but it's also because this series had a crossover movie, and it's a big deal crossover movie because it kind of started a trend for Heisei Kamen Rider to have a crossover movie every year. And the fun part about that is it gives you a nice little bow at the end of Decade series, but also feeds you into the beginning of one of the best stories out of Heisei Kamen Rider, out of all of them. So take it away, guys. All on you now.
Floor is open. Start with Zach.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was waiting for somebody else to go. Yeah, no, like Dustin said, like with Decade, because it has so much it samples from in the past, it's a great starter series because you can sit there and watch it and say, oh, I really like, the design of that rider. I really like the story of how that power set works for that rider. And then you can go and see, okay, well, I know that, oh, okay, this cool rider who has the train, I know that's Den-O. I'm going to go watch Den-O now. Or whatever. So you get it's basically an appetizer platter. All right, it's you get a little bit of everything, and then you go, oh, okay, I like this. Order that again.
Nice.
It's like the show kind of like walks up to you, and it's like, hey, folks, how you doing? How you doing there? Hey, pick a card, any card, any card.
I'm in agreement with. I think that it's actually, like, with all the flack that a lot of the fandom gives it, it is actually kind of a good Star series because it gives people just like a picture of like the previous Kamen Riders and like just sure. Okay, Liz got the joke. But yeah, like it's enjoyable, and especially like with the whole fact that you see like. You can see Decade later on in more crossovers. Like his story never ends. That's like pretty much the motif. Like even though it cuts so short, that's why it's kind of in a good way. It's good that it did that. Kind of these people wanting a little more. But yeah, like I'm in agreement with. I think it should be like someone's Star series. Like even with like everybody saying like, oh, it's his fault. It's this way. Like when you get that joke. It's his fault. Then you're in.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm gonna honestly say I echo it. It would be a great place for someone to start. You get a little taste of everything, and it paints a nice picture. Click of the writers. You could go back and watch, and the plot. Well, if is a little, it's easy enough to be like, okay, Destroyer of Worlds, yada yada. I think it's a nice place to start. And yeah, it never ends. So watch a bajillion movies and keep coming back.
Nice. And we'll finish it off with you, Chris.
Sure, I think it's a great starter series to watch. It gives you, because I'm a big fan of pushing like the fan term, the Neo Heisei or whatever, everything past Decade. I think that's really good for newcomers to find something that they like and then be able to go back afterwards. And so Decade, having everything previously up to it, is great because you get to watch something that's modern. You get to see the stuff that came before it, and if it sparks your interest, cool, you can go back and watch it. But it's an easy transition, and I'll go into the writer I'm assuming we'll talk about next.
Yes. So, AJ, do you have any thoughts before we move on to the next writer? Or
Oh no, I'm ready for the next writer.
okay, yeah. So this next writer is one of my. Oh, okay, you getting ready already? Kamen Rider Double. This show, I think it was my third series that I watched. I loved this show. The show was fantastic. I told some of you guys before we got on air, and New York Toy Fair when we were setting up all the belts. One of the ladies from Bandai Japan came over. She wanted to look at it, and so we showed her the CSM 1.5, and I handed her, and she put the belt on, and I handed her Cyclone. And so she went Cyclone, and I went Joker, and, we went, and I was like, "This is fun, Like we can't speak the same language, but we spoke Kamen Rider,
Kamen Rider transcends language barriers, man.
I can very much agree to that. That is super true.
Yeah. So and this time, AJ, I know you have a lot of things to say about Double, so I'm gonna start with you, and then when you're done, we'll just work our way down from Zach and onward. So. What are your thoughts on Kamen Rider Double?
I mean, I love the series. I know that for some people, it was their first going in after Decade, and watching that as it aired, there was so much that I loved about it week by week because it played on the two episode arc kind of thing with like, oh, you have a monster, then you beat it next episode, and it's an easy formula to kind of just get into. And I think that worked well in their favor, just because, hey, it helps you go next week. I can't wait to finish this. And then you've got more of what's coming up. And honestly, the characters are so lovable. Like Shotaro, Philip, and then you have Akiko. Like, they're all great. And then even like the chief himself that doesn't, play too much. He's great too.
Narumi Sokichi.
Yeah.
He's cool.
Also, nobody's perfect. That is
nobody's perfect.
One of my favorite. Yes.
Yeah.
But let's give it to Zach.
Yeah, Double is just such a great series. I mean, it's hard for me to convey in words how much I actually really love Double. When I first saw it, I said, "Oh, okay, I like the idea of a detective noir kind of like setting. This will be interesting." And then just like you said, AJ, like, man, the characters are just so endearing. You start really to root for them. You see Shotaro and he's like, I'm cool, I'm awesome, and then Akiko comes up and she's like, what are you doing? Just get out of here. Yeah, that I want that slipper.
I want that slipper too. So if we get enough wants for it.
The story has some really great twists that obviously I'm not going to spoil. And when you find out the big revelation, and you're just like, oh man, what is that going to mean for these characters now that they have to kind of come up with this and I just want to give a special shout out to the secondary writer, Terry.
Axel.
That's got to be the biggest pause in the middle of the word henshin I've ever heard in my life. And I love it. I'm here for it.
2.5 episodes wild, right?
He really means it when he does it, though. He really means it.
He sells it hardcore. Everything about that series is just wonderful.
And there's so many catchphrases too.
Oh yeah.
Do not question me. Oh, okay, all right, you right.
Count up your sins.
Count up your
Oh,
sins.
that's
fantastic.
Yeah.
That's such a great one-liner.
My friend who's recently started into it, like he has learned that line in Japanese, and I'm like, I guess that's the line to learn. If you're gonna learn anything.
Definitely. Go with you, Reggie.
Yeah, so this series was definitely one of the ones I was watching when it was airing. I actually got some of my classmates to watch with me in homeroom.
Cool.
Yeah, again with like the character, the monster designs as well, the dopons. A lot of them, like some of them, like they're very obscure in a way, like what topic they relate to, but then like it's just like the sound effects from the different Gaia memories, like Anomalo Karisu, like how that was like where it's just like just money.
Yeah, like I can only pronounce that word because of double, like that Anomalocalis.
Remember Quetzalcoatlus? That one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like with the series though, like I agree with the whole characters, the detective setup of it, the two. I think that was I believe this was kind of like more of the or continue along with that the 2 episode series arc kind of format. And yeah, just like the Sonozaki family, I think that they were a good set of villains, especially like their designs as well. Those were just like I really love those. Yeah, like I know a lot of friends. Double was one of their favorite series, and I can agree. Like it's a really good one. I mean, as you can see, I pretty much when the series came out, I painted up this. It's not a fedora though; it's a trilby. It's a lie. But I painted this up in like whatever convention I was going to. I was parading around with it on. So people were like asking, "Oh," like they just thought like, "Oh, Joker?" Like, no, not that Joker.
Different Joker. Close.
Clone?
Different Joker. Close.
Yeah.
Joker.
It's definitely a great show. Like, and I mean, and it's funny too. Like the way they henshin, like at least one of them is passing out every time, and that's got.
I love that Akiko is like she'll catch him as much, but like the moment we get to that one episode and she gets it wrong, like that's good.
That's one of the moments that really sticks out in my memory from that too.
Yeah. She's like, "Oh, I missed."
Here's a few things that I'll point out that maybe some other people haven't pointed out yet. Just like the suits, I know I say like you fall in love with the suits, but the fact that they only change like half the suits whenever they can just take one Gaia memory out, put another one in, and only half the suit changes. I feel like it's a big precursor to build, which we'll be talking about later in the week. But these Gaia memories, where you mentioned the dopants, the villains, the human, like people are like, no, that's cool. I'm gonna do this. And they turn into monsters. So it's very different when you realize like there's a detective, there's a story that they're trying to solve this mystery, but at the same time the people that they're fighting is because they chose this. And it's but yeah, I loved it. Just the detective aesthetic of it's wonderful. He thinks he's so hard boiled, but he is not. And as far as them fainting, I love the episode where they have pillows.
Yeah.
You guys, I can't really honestly say much more about it, but if you guys are picturing it where they're laying down with the pillows behind them and getting, it's a very big moment. And guys, when you see it happening, you're just gonna know. Okay.
Awesome. All right, Dustin.
So, to tie back into what I was saying earlier, Double is probably one of the best writer stories we got, and it's just overall great design, great characters, great story. Like it completely worked. And there's so many little things from Double I love so much that I want to talk about, like the whole concept of the double rider. Like looking back to Showa Kamen Rider, when Ichigo and Nigo would team up and fight, they would be called the double riders. But now here we have these guys, and then Excel has a lot in common with V3. I'm not going to say much, but just listen to the theme song. You'll figure it out pretty quick. So another thing about Double that I really, really love is the summer movie that came out for it, A to Z. The Guy Memories of Fate. Kamen Rider Eternal appears.
Eternal.
And, it's another one of those movies that ties into the series. So like if you really want to get the most out of that movie, check that out around just after episode 46, I think is when it takes place. And it ties right into the beginning of one of the episodes. And if you know what happens, you're like, oh, cool. And I remember being in America and wanting to see the show and just seeing the aftermath in the show before we've even seen the movie. And everyone's like, oh, man, what happened? Oh, gee. Oh, we get to find out in 6 months? Okay, we can do it, boys. We can do it, boys. Let's do it. And then Double ended, and finally the movie came back, and everyone's like, "Yeah, it's back." And then we watched the ending again, and we're just like, you know how we were saying that Blade is one of those ones that has one of those perfect kind of endings. I think Double does too, depending on how you feel about the last couple episodes. So it's all about how you decide you want to take it. And I think Double is its choice. It's super good.
Fair good season.
And we'll finish it out with you, Chris.
So Double, there's not much I can say that everybody else hasn't already said. And as someone who got into Double late, my first time was with Heisei. But I will tell you this as an outsider that got into Kamen Rider at Heisei and then started looking into merchandise. I really feel that Double started the modern trend that you see in merchandise for Kamen Rider in terms of an absurd amount of figures sometimes based on all these different forms that they had. I remember getting into figure arts for the first time and it was like, what? And how many did they make for Double? But also, and I have to say it, I know they are, and Figure Eyes and all this other stuff now. But I have to say this, and for everyone watching, you're going to cringe, and I'm sorry. I'm doing this specifically to troll Jordan. Double also started the secret theme of numbers.
I'm here for this discussion. Let's go.
I am too.
I just had to throw that out there. I'm sorry. 2. 1, 2.
I will say, my friend and I watching it through this. There's been themes of episodes in the series that we've been noticing that play onto the next couple riders. There's a couple episodes that just kind of hints at. You never thought it hinted, but it looks like that. Coming back watching Double like for a 4th, 5th time, I'm like, hey, look at that! They talk about a magician. Well, we've had a magician before. we've had a sick car. Oh, I see. X-Aids exist now.
Awesome. Now we'll run through this question pretty quick because I want to make sure we get to O's. But should Double be somebody's first series starting with AJ? Go.
Yeah, I think so. I think it doesn't play on a lot of the older writers, so it's kind of fresh and new for a lot of people. And I think the story is completely solid all the way through.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree with AJ. Because it comes off of the end of Decade, which was a huge anniversary season, it kind of did a soft reboot where there was no continuity to any past rider. Like you could just sit and watch Double and have a self-contained story, which is a great self-contained story. It's a great choice to be a first rider for somebody.
Agree with the points above. That's all I'll say.
All right.
Yeah, man, same. With that 2-episode format, you can't stop watching it. Like you just want to go to that next episode. Totally have it be your first rider.
Yeah, I could double up or triple up or even quadruple up on Double.
I would say, as with anything in the Neo Heisei era after Decade, you really can just start looking at what the theme of the show is and make any of those shows your first show. So if you're into detectives and stuff like that, then Double's a great starting point for you.
Okay, cool. And then, of course, our last rider for today, Kamen Rider O's. I really
Reggie's been waiting for this all week long.
Reg is excited.
So
let's give it to him.
O's and anything goes. I'm gonna pass it to you. Go ahead, Reggie.
All right. So my love of O's comes from the fact that, of course, you guys know that's essentially what I'm associated with. Like, because when O's first started airing, I just saw like this stoplight just here, and like, yeah, I was just all in on it. Like, my very first driver was the O's driver. This is my original O's driver right here, which unfortunately doesn't work anymore for the scanner because I decided to do something for an acting class that involved me taking it apart and trying to reassemble it in under a minute. But yeah, when it comes to this series, like this is my opinion, and like anybody can disregard it or like just go against it. But in my opinion, Eiji, I believe, is like the personification of a hero in Kamen Rider. Like when it comes to him, like because when you first meet him, he's just a guy doing odd jobs. He's doing what. And Dustin, thank you, I love you. One day.
Nice. I love it.
Like he's just a guy, just living day to day, and then all of a sudden out comes this arm, not attached to this guy. This arm.
You got the onk.
Yeah, I got it the other day.
Of course you did.
Comes out of nowhere and tells him like, "Hey, I need you to do this thing. This is happening right now." And like he just goes with it. He's like, "Okay," and then he like when you learn his backstory, like, and then how he contrasts the monsters of the series, the greed. Like just seeing the two contrasts, you can understand like why, like even though he was just some random guy that chose, he's actually a perfect fit for like to be the new O's. Because like I won't say any spoilers on that. Well, Ancient Evil, all that stuff. But that's like what I also love about is the combo changes. I mean, like you got the preview with double, half. Now you have a guy who is literally in thirds. It will switch up, and then like the different colored combos, like the different motifs, like you have just here like a mishmash, like essentially like a Kamen Rider chimera of sorts in its base form, but then like he gets the unified forms of like the different colors, like the insects, cats, like just like, and they're in complete contrast with the villains, and then the villains' motivations, like they're like when you learn like their names actually have like a little bit of a play on like what their motivation is for, like what they desire, and then like how it progresses through the series, and you can see like what they want versus like the end. Like again, not spoiling that part. Like just watch their journey. Like just watch Eiji's journey of his mentality until like the end of the show, and then the greed mentality up until their end of the show. And then, like, especially focus on this guy. I'm gonna say focus on this guy, because, and the ending though, like, emotional. I'll say that. Emotional.
Right. Now, I just want to say, I really hope when on YouTube when it takes the screen cap for the thumbnail, that it takes it right now. Because like how we're all acting like nothing is happening when Kamen Rider O's is literally just sitting on the screen right now. Like this is normal. Just like so.
I don't know what live streams you guys are normally a part of, but this is fun.
Yeah, this is how we live stream from now on. We will have a Kamen Rider with us at all times. So, Zach, go ahead and give us your thoughts on O's.
So yeah, O's is such a great series. Again, great characters, great story. The theme of desire versus being selfless is a really interesting dynamic. Again, this is one of those ones where I have to give a special shout out to one of the secondary riders, Date, rocking that Chicago Bears shirt. Come on, I saw that and I went, "What? Bears shirt in Kamen Rider? What?" So yeah, shout out to Date for rocking the Chicago Bears shirt. But yeah, again, the rider forms are really cool. There is something for everyone in terms of like. Do you like a really sleek looking rider? Well, hey, that's, Lion, Tora, Cheetah. That's really, quick and fast. Do you like a really super bulky, like that's Sagozo? Sagozo's my favorite combo.
Oh, yeah, same here.
Like, you just can't go wrong because of, like Reggie said, with that mishmash of like, okay, you can take, this part, and this part, and really make whatever kind of rider you want to make out of it. And again, yeah, story's great. Some good emotion in the story. Ankh as a character, like, just is like chef's kiss. That's like his character is fantastic as it progresses throughout the series.
Nice. I know one of the things that I like the most about O's is the fact that there's a whole happy birthday theme going on here, and it's funny. Like it was my birthday a little while back, and I knew somebody was going to hit me up on the page with the meme. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
I knew.
fails.
In this fandom, you just expect it on your birthday.
Yeah.
So, all right, Liz.
This is one I'm actually only on episode 30 of. I tried to finish it before all this, but I just couldn't. So for someone who hasn't finished it yet, it's Ankh and Eiji are just this amazing couple that together make a great writer with his help and some coins, and there's lots of ice pops in it. And Ankh is beautiful. That man is just beautiful with his hair. Anyhow, that's what these guys right there really love it. So that's all I'm saying. I yield my time. So he has.
See, they kept us on either side of the screen just to make sure we didn't make that one side of your screen such a rupture, and then you got your team writer asking for replacement LCDs. We're not doing that today.
Awesome. Dustin or Chris, Dustin, I know you just were a common writer, so I mean that kind of
it speaks in volume.
Yeah.
So I love O's so much. Like, I say Decade's my favorite writer, but I say O's is my favorite writer series. Just the toys in general too. Like, that was one of the best selling writer toys at the time, and those medals and the engineering behind it. I want more writer toys like the O's driver. That is a fun toy, and it even feels that way in the show. And that's what I think so impressive about it is when you get shows that the toys mesh well with the series and the drama behind it. Like the struggle for the coins throughout the whole show is it's just panic mode the whole time, and I really like that. The supporting cast is a lot of fun too. I love Hina to death. I really wish I knew why she's so strong, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm willing to wait for. And Birth with Goto and Date. Like, I love the whole Birth dynamic, and they have some really fun stuff that happens for them at the end. And I'm not saying anything because I just want Liz to finish it so that we can finally talk about it. Because I think you're gonna like it. I really do. I really do. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about one of the coolest villains we have, Dr. Maki. But not really Dr. Maki, that little doll that sits on his arm. That's
He's
really
so
villain of O's.
creepy.
He's the mastermind. Look at him. He's always looking up. He's always constantly thinking. And then the minute that we're all gone, he speaks to Maki, and Maki's like, "That makes sense. We'll do that." Yeah, we know it. We know it's totally confirmed. We know it's confirmed. Read the books, novels. I love O's. That's great.
And Chris,
I would say O's. Looking back and seeing how things are now, and even seeing people's reactions to Heisei Generations Forever, right? When things come out on Saturday, the 11th. I've never really seen a side character in Ankh, for example, sometimes be more remembered as the iconic character of that series than the actual Kamen Rider themselves.
Yeah.
And Ankh, to so many people in the fan community, is what makes Kamen Rider O's as great as it is. And I think that's a testament to the storytelling and to the characterizations that they did and the writers did on that show was just fantastic. And there's nothing I can say that can do justice to it. I have to yield to Reggie and Dustin, the two biggest fans of O's that I know. I'm just really happy both of them got to be here to share that love, and I hope people watching this see that love and realize what a great show it is and give it a chance.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a great show, and I love the henshin, super clean. Love the boom, then. Yeah, I love that.
And then Kira Kachuda coming in with a taka tora bata
each form getting its own great jingle. Like,
right.
Oh man, just
and
it's
merchandise.
Even Birth, the whole flipping of the coin and catching it. I always thought, man, that was me. I would flip it one time and be like, oh God.
Yeah.
I think Bandai misunderstood us when we were talking about Birth way back in the day. We said we want more Gashapon Riders, not more Gashapon Rider toys. I mean, we do, but we also want more Gashapon Riders. I mean, come on, that is really cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
That is.
Yeah, definitely.
I love it. Just he carries all of the coins. He's always like how strong he is. He's got that giant thing. He's like, oh, you need some? Sure, here you go.
yeah.
So,
Little gorilla candroids. Oh,
the camera.
Oh, the Candroids are great.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh,
Well,
the music too. How they all tie
Yes.
into all the combos. I love those.
Yes.
the opening theme
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Anything goes, man. It's a great song, and I love how when the horns start playing and O's hits that pose every time, it just hits right every time. Just I don't get tired of it.
I think back in the day when we were watching, we called it Ska-Man Rider because it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, it's O's is definitely one of the best ones, and you know I'm pretty sure I can read the chat here or read the room here and get the answer. But would you guys ever suggest Kamen Rider O's as someone's first Kamen Rider?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems pretty clear.
Pretty unanimous. It's unanimous.
Anything
Yeah.
goes, man. Anything goes.
There's 3 O's, by the way. So it's double had 2, and there and now
And then what
O's had
comes
3.
after O's?
I'll keep bringing up the number theory now.
Forza and all.
So, since we're talking about Forza, can we just get one out of the way on 3? Y'all know what I'm talking about.
2, 1.
3, 2, 1. Uchu. Hey.
Hopefully that's the screenshot now.
I feel like we should break into start going the
tomorrow
tato.
Thanks, everybody.
Anyways, guys, this is a whole lot of fun. I can't wait to do this again tomorrow. Please, wow, we are really small. This is our first time doing this with more than 6 people. This is great. Please come back tomorrow for Forza Wizard, our Lord and Savior Gaim. Should be fun. And then, of course, after that, join us for the toys and collectible stream. Looking forward to talking about some more Kamen Rider stuff. It's going to be a great time, guys. And don't forget, July 11th is going to be the stream of Heisei Generations Forever. Tune in starting at 4 o'clock on the Nerdist channel or Geek and Sundry channel on YouTube. You'll be able to see the panel that we did with Shout Factory, which is pretty cool. And then that goes right into, right after that, will be the special message from a Kamen Rider who has also signed their driver for us.
Give us a hint.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. This person is a Kamen Rider.
I know it.
Oh, dang.
Fujioka. Oh man.
But you're only gonna see this at the beginning of the movie. All right, so don't be late, because like you'll come in, you'll miss it, and then you'll be sad, and we'll all know, and you won't know. So make sure you're there.
Make
early.
sure you get your internet connection checked.
Yeah, definitely. Don't miss it. And then make sure you're looking at the live chat after it's over, because that is where we're going to drop how to win the driver. So definitely be there or be square and have no driver. But until next time, guys, it's been fun. We will see you tomorrow for Gaim and some other people.
Oh man, doing us dirty like that.
Talk about the wizard, please.
See you later, guys.
See you later.
Oh boy, okay.